We've got Bidvest down, 0.25%. Lonmin shedding ground. Gold Ashanti
well, look,
also
Lonmin
down.
doesn't really trade too much. The gold shares do, whenever the rest of the market does well, the gold shares don't do so well. But when you look, Sasol's incredibly strong. Billiton is strong. Naspers is strong. ARM, African Rainbows, very strong. So it's mainly concentrated in the resource side of the market. FirstRand was quite strong as well. But this is two factors, and you mentioned both of them. Good earnings out of the US, beating expectations.
Yeah.
You've had General Electric there. You've had Apple. We've had McDonald's reporting very good results there. And of course, this story that Europe will put money, and it'll be at least €1 trillion. Of course, the politicians...
Well, it's sitting at 440 billion euros,
Yeah.
so we'd want to see it much higher than
And
that.
you will see it higher. They will come up with the money. So we're probably going to get, for a change, get surrounded by a little bit of good news. I mean, understand, none of the problems are solved. There's no one's solving a problem here. You're just averting a crisis. And the actual underlying economies are not in good shape. Ignore Greece, ignore all of that just for the moment. The US economy is not in good shape. The German economy is okay. The UK is quite bad. France isn't all that good. So nothing's going to be resolved. We're just going to get panic. We're just going to avert a disaster, which means the markets now are just recovering from the sell-off, from the panic we saw in September. So maybe they go another 5%, maybe we get 32,000, maybe we get 33,000 on an old share, but we're not embarking on a new bull market.
What is it going to take to get the market convinced that we will not see a default out of Greece, any peripheral Eurozone country, that the European Union and the Eurozone is going to be intact forever? Is it
I don't know about forever.
A massive amount of money to be pumped into the market so that we can actually put this behind us?
Exactly the same as the US did to solve their banking crisis 3-4 years ago, is you flood the market with liquidity and the panic leaves. Money sorts out panic. So,
but as soon as those programs end, the panic resurfaces.
No. The panic that resurfaces in the US was related to the US economic growth. It wasn't a panic in the banking system.
The debt ceiling,
it wasn't
of course.
a panic in the it wasn't a panic in the banking system. So the banking system problem never resurfaced. It actually was sorted out.
So we've had BHP Billiton having a
Very
fantastic
strong,
day,
I
up
must say.
4.25% in today's session. And of course, BHP and Anglo American out with production
Yes.
numbers out this week. And BHP looking very strong,
Very, very strong.
with the likes of
There
iron
doesn't
ore.
seem to be-
Copper was down significantly, but Anglo copper
And the
production
same
was
story.
also
Look,
down.
I think there were a few production issues in South America.
In Chile, yeah.
Yeah, don't know the whole story there, but it clearly tells you there's nothing wrong with this commodity cycle. There's nothing wrong with this. And whether that lasts or not, who knows, maybe we're all getting sucked into a false sense of security, but it still looks on track. And if it's on track, South Africa's okay, our share market's okay, and the rand's okay.
When I was looking at the BHP numbers relative to Anglo American's production numbers, looking at iron ore and energy, we saw record numbers coming through from BHP Billiton.
Yes.
However, copper for BHP was down around 28%.
Yeah, I must say I didn't.
And Anglo American, we saw the copper production numbers down only 9%, while iron ore was also very benign. We saw single-digit growth coming through there.
Look, I know you got a problem.
Which is the better diversified miner here,
Billiton is the better diversified miner, unquestionably, but maybe not the best share to buy, because the Anglo share price relative to what it can be in an upcycle. The upcycle must stay in place. Anglo's the share price will probably give you a better return. But quite frankly, as long as the cycle stays in place, there's not too much to choose between the two companies.
And Anglo American not performing as well as BHP today, because it was only up around 1.4%.
Not at all. But that's the one day. Billiton was very strong.
I see Massmart is up 0.8%. Again, those hearings, Walmart, Massmart deal with the unions.
But that's politics again. Don't worry.
I spoke with, of course, a global union a little earlier today, and it seems that they do want more conditions or even to overturn the merger. Is that even a possibility? Can that happen?
I don't think it. I think we're just seeing politics here now.
Vodacom also under pressure today, down around 1%. Again, news coming through.
News, yeah. But look, it was, if you look at the board, it's a very, very green day, ending the week off well. We within, I think, about 1,800 points of our previous high. It certainly feels a lot better than what we did in September. We'll see what happens over the next few weeks. But if there is some definitive resolution on the European debt crisis and the Greek crisis on Wednesday, then the markets will carry on plodding along, because there's no real impetus for markets to do well here, exactly as there wasn't really any need for them to panic either.
So big down days and
I don't know,
big up days, and then opportunities to buy and sell.
Of course, big down days will still happen again, but You know, I've seen the market fall plenty of times in my life, and I'm going to see it fall plenty of times into the future as well. But September, that 3% up one day, 2% down the next, 4% up, 5% down, that was a little bit unusual. Normally when markets fall, they just fall and they get it over and done with quickly. Whereas this was, you know, it was not disturbing, but it was very unusual. So hopefully those days are gone for a short while.
Before we say goodbye, what is your favorite stock right now? Any specific favorites?
When you've spoken about Pick and Pay, you know, you like that story. ABSA has got lots of spare capital. You know, maybe people should look at buying ABSA. Surprisingly enough, you know, Richmond, I mean, the share's expensive, but the underlying economy and the underlying earnings seem to be doing incredibly well. But I would still hang my hat on Anglos or Billiton, because if the Chinese story carries on, there's big upside in those shares.